Hello, cooking enthusiasts. In this week's video, we're making a classic Roman pasta dish featuring guanciale, and we happen to need to open up a fresh batch of guanciale. We just removed the specialized dry aging wraps, and this piece of pork cheek has been aging in my fridge since late January of this year, so just around 6 months. I'll have the basic starting parameters for this on screen, but eventually there will be a full video about this guanciale and another experimental one that was aging at the same time. So a pretty standard sort of spicing profile for Italian charcuterie, although I haven't specifically seen nutmeg paired with guanciale, although maybe somebody does that. I just thought it would be interesting. The important thing for this video is just finally getting this thing open and measuring some pieces, as well as trimming off the outer sort of crust. And don't worry, I am actually saving those trimmings in the freezer, and I have some ideas for utilizing them. We are being somewhat precise with our measurements here because I think the ratio of pasta to guanciale is the most critical for this dish, whereas some of the other measurements are more flexible. We measured a little more off camera, and now we're just starting to render half of it as batons on a sort of moderate heat. I really have grown to love using guanciale over pancetta or a similar pork belly product because it is even fattier, and that rendered fat being sort of the foundation of these sauces gives these classic Roman dishes a very particular flavor. Now we are crisping up cubes of our guanciale at a slightly higher heat in the previous rendered guanciale fat. I really do like having the guanciale in sort of two different form factors. Having different shapes in such a simple dish just gives us more complexity for presentation as well as textures while you're eating. I've already gone through the trouble of making my own guanciale, so I want to showcase all the ways it can be enjoyed. So we are somewhat diligently crisping most of the sides, and these will go on top of the dish. The next thing that goes in is some onions, and we are using a very restrained amount and moderate temperatures, but the quantity is more flexible, and you can see they're getting brown right away, but that is from deglazing the fond and not caramelization. While there is still excess fat in the pan with the onions, we're adding red peppercorns, which could also, of course, be a pepperoncini or any other chili flake that you like. I just prefer a peppercorn heat to a capsaicin heat. Finally, we're adding cherry tomatoes, and again, this ratio is important but more flexible. I estimated sort of a maximum amount I thought would be good, and I've added most of that, but held back a little so I could make adjustments. After just a few minutes of the tomatoes cooking, we drop the pasta, in this case a slightly thicker spaghetti. In this instance, we're using cherry tomatoes because they were local and delicious, just coming into season, although I think more traditionally you would use some type of smooth tomato product, whether that was a fresh or a preserved canned sauce or puree, but I think the ratios would still be similar. We are now in the home stretch of finishing the pasta dish, and I do like this pasta pot for singles or double portions. It creates moderately concentrated pasta water because you might know, I think some people go crazy with making super concentrated, starchy pasta water for everything, which I think is a mistake. You also don't have to remember saving a cup of pasta water because you have all of it there and ready. And the pasta water is extra critical for this version using the fresh cherry tomato. We have some of the juices from them breaking down, but it's still pretty chunky, so the pasta water is helping us bind everything together. So, besides some nice tossing, that is pretty much it. A relatively simple dish that I didn't overcomplicate too much. I know for this dish and a lot of Roman dishes, people really love bucatini or a spaghettoni type noodle like this. I think for me personally, I would actually prefer a regular spaghetti or even something thin like a capellini, as well as short shapes for this dish in particular. Overall, I am very happy with how the dish turned out, especially the balance of guanciale, tomatoes, and even the onions. I do sometimes see garlic included or even white wine, and I think white wine or some type of vinegar could be good depending on your specific tomatoes. I will include my working ratios written in the description. It's not quite ready to be a full recipe just yet. And finally, we are garnishing with the guanciale cubes, a little bit of that nice Ontario pecorino cheese, and a little bit of black pepper. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for watching.